Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Mark Langtry and I'm the Head of Science and Sport here at Explorium and I'll be your host. The Engineers Ireland STEPS programme is a non-profit outreach programme that promotes interest and awareness in engineering as a future career to school students through a portfolio of projects. STEPS is supported and funded by Science Foundation Ireland, the Department of Education and Skills and industry leaders Arup, ESB, Intel and TII. And today, the STEPS team at Engineers Ireland are celebrating International Women's Day and I'll be chatting with Maria Isabel Meza Silva. And this is the second video in our International Women's Day video series as part of STEPS Engineers Week. Isabel works as a data analyst with Irish Manufacturing Research, helping manufacturing companies understand and unlock the value of using data in their production lines. Her work supports the decision-making process of companies by showing them the difference between what they think happens and what really happens in various areas such as process improvement and predictive maintenance and product quality. She also coordinates the IMR's STEM programs for primary and secondary schools. I'm going to pass you over to Isabel to share her story.
Hi, my name is Maria Isabel Meza Silva, but people call me Isabel. I am an industrial engineer working at Irish Manufacturing Research. I was born in Venezuela and raised in Colombia, so as you might say, I am as Latina as it gets. Hi everyone, as I mentioned previously, my name is Isabel Meza and I am an industrial engineer working in analytics at Irish Manufacturing Research. And now, I would like to tell you a bit more about my story and my career path into engineering. First of all, let me start by answering the question of how I got into the engineering world in the first place. Believe it or not, I was first introduced to engineering when I was very little, and we all are in some shape or form, but most of the time we're not aware of it. I think I was around 7 or 8 years old when my dad brought me to his workplace. I think I was the happiest kid alive. He happened to work as a manager where my favorite cereal was made. He brought me down to the factory and my favorite part was the end, of course, because I got lots of cereals. But when we were walking down the factory, I kept asking, "Dad, how is it made?" He showed me how it all started with some ingredients such as wheat flour, sugar, and loads of cacao powder. Oh yes, chocolate. It all then went through different processes such as grinding, boiling, mixing, and other stuff I didn't really understand back then, but found fascinating to see all those big machines working. At the end, they had this perfect cereal filled with chocolate that would eventually be part of my breakfast. And I later realized that there were lots of engineers behind the process, the people that designed the machines, the people who decided how to make the cereal, and the ones that made possible for the cereal to make it to my house. To be honest, I grew up wanting to be a doctor, a lawyer, or even a pilot. However, when I reached high school, I realized I really enjoy subjects like science, maths, and technical drawing. I love going to the lab and understand how things worked, and do all kinds of experiments, even the ones that went wrong. I think wanting to understand how things work led me to find out more about careers in science and engineering. And well, why engineering? I kept asking myself when we used to go to the lab, if I have this problem, how can I solve it? Can I design and make something that will solve it? Will my solution work? And that's basically the nature of engineering. Engineering is a repetitive process where you use maths, science, creativity, and common knowledge to find solutions to a problem. Think about the pandemic. When it started, one of the solutions was to use face covers. However, disposable face covers created an environmental problem as loads of them were thrown away. Manufacturing companies are now trying to come up with alternatives that are more environmentally friendly and can still protect us. And believe me, I would bet you there are lots of engineers behind this process. And as Scott Adams once said it, engineers like to solve problems. If there are no problems handy available, they will create their own problems just to solve them. And well, you might be wondering, but why industrial engineering? I think it all goes back to understanding how the cereal was made. I did some research about the different areas in engineering and I found industrial engineering. The core of this engineering is to design, plan, and improve production and manufacturing processes. If we go back to the example of the cereal, I can now see that it was way more complex than I thought. It involves dealing with suppliers who sells you the wheat, sugar, and cacao, which are called raw materials, as they are some of the ingredients needed to produce the cereal. When you're dealing with the suppliers, you have to ask yourself questions such as how much should I buy of each raw material, when should I have it for, is it gonna expire soon, and things like that. All of this requires planning. Then you need to understand the processes involved to produce the cereal, the machines you need to run, the temperature, the times, and finally distributing the final product, the cereal, all the way to the supermarkets, where the consumers buy it. The consumers can be you, me, your family, friends, and this is the core of the manufacturing processes. It happens with every single object that you can see or touch in the room: clothes, electronic devices, sports equipment. Try to think about the manufacturing process one object that you use daily goes through, and you will be surprised how much you will learn. So, what exactly is my job right now? I don't currently work inside a factory, but I work with a lot of them. We use data to make things better for manufacturing companies. We take their data and use it to analyze performance. For example, how the machines are running and answer questions such as: can I produce all the chocolate I wanted to produce today? Can I make all the shoes I wanted to make today? We also use data to try to predict when a machine will fail and prevent it. A broken machine can cause a lot of problems in a manufacturing environment and can cost a lot of money. Imagine if you could predict when you're gonna break a bone. It's more or less like that, but we just try to understand the behavior of the machine instead of the human body. Lastly, we use data to understand product quality and answer questions such as: why am I getting bad product? How much bad product am I getting? The idea is to reduce all waste that we can. There are a few reasons why I love my job, and some of them are: getting to work with a range of different companies from various backgrounds. I have had the chance to visit companies that produce healthcare products, and in one of them I saw how toothpaste was made. I also saw how boilers are made and how mushrooms are produced and collected. It is quite impressive. The second reason is making an impact. When working with data, we can really make an impact because the data can lead to discover facts that people are not aware of or prove some facts wrong. Analyzing data is like when a person gets a medical exams taken. The doctor reads them and gives the person an overview of their health. In this case, we analyze the data and give manufacturing companies an overview of the health of their production lines. The process is almost all the time the same. We take the data, we sort it, arrange it, and visually present it to companies so they can understand what really happened in their manufacturing lines and why. And lastly, but not less important, working with great people and sharing knowledge. I consider myself lucky because I find my colleagues to be great workers but also incredible human beings. I also love the diversity within the company. I think there are about 13 different languages that I could learn. There are people from every part of the globe. My job has also allowed me to interact and share my knowledge with the students, introduce them to engineering, manufacturing, and make them realize that it can be more fun than expected. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I would like to finish it by giving you some advice. First, keep asking questions. The greatest inventions came from people that never stopped wondering. Remember that there is no such a thing as a dumb question. Second, step out of your comfort zone. Learn how to do things that you never thought of learning before. I don't know, learn how to dance, learn how to play an instrument, or even learn how to build a robot. The third one is to embrace challenges. Think about it. If you succeed, you will be happy. If you fail, you will learn. Believe me, sometimes we learn more from our failures than from our success. Fourth, be confident. Speak out loud and let your voice be heard. Believe me, sometimes we underestimate how much we know or how much our opinion matters. And last, please never use the excuse that it's too late. Because it is never too late to learn a new language, to learn a new skill, to choose a career, or to even change a career. Don't make any excuses and just go for it. Well, that's me for today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and that you learned a bit more about manufacturing and engineering. And who knows, you might even consider pursuing a career in engineering now. Now, let's see if Mark has some questions for me.
Thanks very much, Isabel. And I now have a few questions for you from some transition year students. And the first question is, why do you think more girls should get interested in engineering?
I will ask, why not? Engineering is a field of endless opportunities. Think about it, there is engineering all around us. In the device you're watching this video, in the school building, makeup, cars, airplanes, video games, and even in your food. Yes, there is something called food engineering. Another example are engineers working in sports. They design and test football boots to make them more efficient for players. Engineering can be more fun than people think. I know it sounds boring, or it might sound boring because it combines science and maths, but it also requires common knowledge, creativity, design, and business. To be honest, engineering can be challenging, but I have found it extremely rewarding and impactful.
And the second question, why should girls consider engineering?
I think engineering is a field known as being male-dominated, and I cannot say it's not true. However, this wasn't my perception when I was growing up. In high school, a few of my female classmates wanted to pursue degrees in engineering, like me. It wasn't until I started college that I noticed the gender gap. Even though in our class the ratio was 65-35%, there were other courses like software engineering where there were only 5 girls in a class of 80, and only one of them finished the degree. I can also feel the difference now that I'm working. It can happen that I'm the only girl in a room of 9 engineers, and sometimes I don't feel confident enough to speak up. But I also see it as an opportunity to show my skills, represent young female engineers, and let my voice be heard. We might be a minority, but that does not mean that we cannot do the same things as them.
And finally, what advice can you give me?
I think there are 4 key advices I would give anyone thinking of studying engineering. First, start reading about the different engineering degrees available at the universities to get an idea of the career prospects and understand what each engineering implies. Second, I would recommend to find a mentor. Reach out to former or current students, anyone who you aspire to be like. The relationship with this mentor doesn't have to be a formal one, and he or she will become a source of advice who can help you and guide you during your career. Third, please stay curious and keep asking questions. Remember that engineers try to solve problems all the time. Curiosity, creativity, and making informed decisions play an important role when trying to come up with new and innovative solutions. Fourth, start looking for internships early in your career. Real work experience will help you determine what you like, what industry you want to work in, and the skills that you will need. And one last piece of advice that I wish I received as a woman when I was starting my career is: feel confident and don't be afraid of speaking up. Intimidation is often a mental barrier, and being a minority shouldn't stop us from doing something.
Thank you so much, Isabel, for taking part in our chat for International Women's Day and answering the students' questions. It was great having you here, and thank you for sharing all of your tips. Again, the STEPS team would like to thank our sponsors Science Foundation Ireland, the Department of Education and Skills, and industry sponsors Arup, ESB, Intel and TII. And thank you all so much for watching. So make sure to subscribe to the Engineers Ireland YouTube channel to watch all of our STEPS International Women's Day video series.